Jason Tatum getting ready for the second game of 3 here on our ABC family of networks. It's a rematch of the 2024 NBA Finals as the Celtics take on the Dallas Mavericks. Remember, Dallas has been a little bit shorthanded this year, but Kyrie Irving has been powering this team, still finding a way to win. Welcome inside our Los Angeles studio. Before we look ahead to that game, we were not expecting, Stephen A., to see that version, I don't think, of Nikola Jokic.
Well, when the NBA makes a schedule and they say that 2 teams are going to play against one another, you're anticipating that both teams will show up and play. Oh, and in this particular situation, one team clearly just took the afternoon off. They've got to, they're looking forward to the rest of the weekend, and they said, we don't feel like working today because we know the Denver Nuggets are better than this. Since December 28th, tied with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best record in basketball at 12-3, but they look like hot garbage today. It happens. We understand. Not going to overreact to it, but it's not like Minnesota just won today. The Denver Nuggets did not show up to play basketball today, period.
Yeah, I think you look at this game and you can say, is this a one-off bad day at the office, not ready to play? You could do that, or you could say, do the Nuggets have an actual problem here, defensively, personnel-wise, and with the trade deadline coming up, do they think this team, and trust me, being the 16th best defensive team in the league and trying to win a championship, which is the goal of this Nuggets team, those 2 things don't often align, and that's the real question. There's one game, one bad performance. The question is this indicative of what's to come and what's been going on most of the season?
While we looking to the left of things, look to the right? Let's look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. They came out there tonight. They imposed their will this afternoon, and when you look at it, they had 7 guys in double figures. I thought tonight they bench gave them a huge lift. Anthony Edwards was the ultimate floor general. He empowered this team, and Rudy Gobert, he did what he needed to do. Anchoring that defense, being a live threat, hanging around the basket, setting screens, and the Minnesota Timberwolves came out there and they handled their business at home. On Denver side of things, you talked about this earlier, Bob. You were saying how, Mike Malone goes on these rants at times in his interviews. And the problem is that they're too inconsistent throughout the course of the season, right? They don't have an identity defensively, and they need one.
But would you make a change, or is that just something? Again, this is just one game.
Yeah, I'm happy to credit Minnesota, but they've got their own problems, right? What are they, 24 and 23?
They're on pace for 43 wins this season.
Yeah, I mean, come on. We all expected, as did they, better than this.
Well, they missed Karl Anthony Towns.
Well,
they
he's
lost
not on
my
team.
game. You know why. The point is, I have no problems with the loss that they suffered losing Karl Anthony Towns. You shouldn't have gave him up, but you did. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Having said all of that, listen, they got to get it together, figure out how Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, those guys could coexist with McDaniels, with Naz Reid, and all this. I get that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this team is going to go where Anthony Edwards takes you, but only to some degree. He needs help. And who's that help?
Right now, they're a play-in team. They're the 8th best team in their conference.
But we have to
I just didn't see that coming.
Played.
Great game. Great game. They can do this, and they can lose to an awful team.
What we're saying, Malik, is this. We don't believe they could do what they did today consistently. Because there's nothing about them this year that's told us they can do that consistently.
Well,
so it's an aberration.
This is going to be, I already know, this is going to get clipped off, and this is going to be maybe a point that the Timberwolves are going to want to look at and say, okay, we were able to march forward after this. Speaking of inconsistent, the Boston Celtics, they've been a little bit up and down recently. Bob, Perk, you both won championships in the NBA. They're playing now in an NBA Finals rematch in the second game here on ABC this afternoon. Do you get up for these games in a different way, even though it's a regular season?
I mean, I'm a bad example.
You do.
Yes,
you do.
I do. But Dallas is hurt. I just want Luka to play basketball. We all do. I just think he's the fulcrum. He's the engine of that team. So you got to be honest. You're a player. When you know he's not playing,
I don't know, because Bob, the Mavs just had a great win, an amazing win against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now you're back home. You have the defending champs coming into your house, the team that you met up in the finals. J. Kidd is going to have these guys ready, right? I know they don't have, Luka. They don't have
Najee Marshall. They
don't have a lot of guys, but they do have some guys that's been stepping up. Spencer Dinwiddie, Quentin Grimes. Again, the defending champs, you still got to come out here and perform. J. Kidd will have these guys ready to compete.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
Are we sure about that? Is it just me? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to check my notes again. Maybe I need to go back and watch the video. Have the Dallas Mavericks lost 5 of their last 7? They've been losing. And by the way, the only 2 victories came against Oklahoma City, which is a big deal. But those are the only 2 victories they have in their last 7 games. They've lost 5 of their last 7. So what that tells you is they're up and down. And styles make fights. So you look at Oklahoma City without a Hartenstein, without a Chet Holmgren, it's a little bit easier for Dallas because we're going up against everybody else. They've lost 5 of their last 7. Kyrie's going to do his thing. We get that because he's a spectacular player. And they've got other pieces. But Luka with Kyrie is why we have ourselves fantasizing about what Dallas's potential is. And with Luka not being on the court,
well, a name we haven't mentioned, Klay Thompson, in all of this, who is
38.
giving it a go tonight. And you know Klay incredibly well, Bob. What have you seen of his fit here with Dallas?
I mean, he can play on any team. Klay can, because he can shoot, and he doesn't need the ball. I mean, having an off-the-ball skill like he does and the size he has, he can play 3, play 4. He's rebounding more this year. He's been great, and he will be great. And here's where Klay will show up. There's players that can make shots, Malika, in the regular season, and there's players that can make shots in the playoffs. And you can see, and you guys all know, when you watch playoff games, you'll see players that shot 44% in the regular season, and they can't make a shot. That's not going to happen to Klay Thompson. And you're just nodding to agree. I appreciate that.
I love me some Klay Thompson, a future Hall of Famer, 4-time champion, one of the greatest shooters the history of the game of basketball has ever seen. I get that part. And I do believe he will make shots, particularly come playoff time. But let's be clear. 13 points a game, a career low 38%. Okay. 38% from three-point range is still better than most people could do in the league. It's still a career low for him. He's not having that great of a year. Let's just be honest about that.
Well, it depends on what you define a great, because he's not going to get the 20 FGAs that Luka got and Kyrie got. So he relies on his teammates to find him. And so I think he's doing fine.
But he don't have to do that much on this team. This team is deep. This is the best supporting cast that Luka has had since he put on the Dallas Maverick uniform. Now, on the other side of things, let's not act like the Celtics been peaches and cream. They've been struggling as well, so they trying to...
little malaise.
I get it.
Can I ask you guys a question? Can I ask you a question? We've been talking about the Mavericks. We just saw the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. We know who Oklahoma City is, I think.
Yep.
Who are they playing in the Western Conference Finals?
They played Dallas.
That's who you got. See, who will they play? See, this is the question, because we can be critical of all these teams below Oklahoma City. Because I don't know who's playing.
I don't know who this is going to be in the Western Conference.
Dallas healthy is still the second-best team in the Western Conference.
And I think that's been the missing ingredient. Perhaps with health, we would be talking about Dallas in the same way we talk about Boston as on a path, potentially, to be back in the NBA Finals.
You get to see Kyrie.
A rematch of the 2024 Finals coming up right after this.
So good.
NBA Saturday Primetime on ABC is presented by Wingstop. Bring the flavor. And in part by the new movie Dog Man, in theaters Friday.
It started small and grew into a worldwide wonder.
I decided a long time ago, I would write my own chronicle.
Pushing up through the Earth's crust. Roots are deep, no borders to keep.
You know it starts with a piece. Give it time, let it breathe instead of suffocating crazy dreams. Hey, tell me
the hardwood stage is where visions grow, fed by the rhythm shared on the global beat.
When it was time, piece by piece.
From the City of Lights to the Golden State, every branch is story.
Keep stacking high, high, high. Piece by piece.
Around the world, it's a game we celebrate.
Piece by piece.
Welcome to NBA Saturday Primetime on ABC, presented by Wingstop. The Dallas Mavericks and Boston Celtics meet for the first time since June 17th in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, when Boston secured its record 18th championship. A rematch tonight at American Airlines Center, with many of the same star players on display as both teams look to get hot before the All-Star break. And Hi, everybody. Dave Pash with Victor Jefferson. We'll check in with Cassidy Hubbard here in a little bit.